It's 2014 in Düsseldorf. I just arrived home after a very long day at work. As I finish locking the door behind me, I start crying. I'm 27 years old and I've been a customer service representative for the past 4 years. I have tried multiple times to apply for new positions within my company, but I've been rejected every single time. I'm from Guatemala and I've been living in Germany on a work visa, which means I need a job to be able to stay here, which I absolutely want to. But at this point of my life, I'm at a dead-end job and in a job that I absolutely hate. I've searched high and low for new job opportunities, but I've gotten nothing in return. From one side, I don't speak German fluently, and from the other side, I don't have a real skill that people are hiring for. On that day, I decided I needed a drastic change, and I was going to do something I have been wanting to do for a very long time, and that is to learn to code. In this video, we will share the journey that I took from becoming a customer service representative to a developer in Germany. Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from simplegermany.com, where we create content to empower internationals to settle into life in Germany more smoothly. So the very first question I had to tackle is, how am I going to pull this off? So as it was true in 2014 and it is true now in 2022, there are 3 ways to become a software engineer in the world. Number 1 is to go to the university.
Correct. So studying computer science at a university in Germany usually implies 4 years of full-time study, which then again implies you can no longer work full-time during that time, which Jen was on a work visa, on a work permit, which didn't allow her to study. So to make a university degree happen, you would need to first go through all the hoops with the Ausländerbehörde, and also kind of like not have an income for 4 years, which how would you sustain yourself? Yeah. As a student in Germany, international student that is, you need to have a certain amount of money in a so-called blocked account to tell the German government you are able to sustain your livelihood. So at the time of recording, that is 11,208 euro per year. This is the number that starts for January 2023.
Yes, it's not per year, you need to have that amount in your blocked account to be able to get the student visa. If you want more information about what a blocked account is and what is all this thing that we're talking about, we have created an article which is on simplegermany.com and you can find the link in the description box below.
Correct. So that pretty much implied university degree was not really the best option for you.
Yes, although I would say with a university degree, of course, your chances of finding a job are a lot higher because you have an official degree. And usually universities also have trade fairs and events that you can network with companies and you come out as a full-blown computer scientist, which that is a massive pro.
Very true.
Another pro of the university degree would have been that, of course, you have 4 years of studying computer science, so you have a general, or I would say a very specific understanding of each area of programming, so you know what you like the most and what area you would like to focus on for your jobs, for example. Second option is to go to a boot camp. Not the one from the military, but the one is called coding boot camps, actually.
Which are very popular nowadays.
Yes. So remember, this is 2014. And at that time in Germany, I believe, I don't remember from like the top of my head, but I would say by feeling it was maybe 2 or 3 coding boot camps in Germany. And all of them were in Berlin, which required that you needed to be there full-time also to be in the campus in Berlin, which would have implied that I needed to move to Berlin, pay for the boot camp, which was also pretty expensive, and again, not be able to work because I would be studying full-time. So the pro of the boot camp also is that you are relatively quick in finding a job if you're a good student and if you hustle, I would say, because they also have not only trade fairs as well as the universities, but they also have dedicated, the majority at least, dedicated career services which help you and advise you on how to prepare for interviews, how to prepare your CV. Some boot camps might have even partnerships with certain companies that the top students they might be able to recommend. So it's like a very good area to network as well.
Exactly, you're kind of like in the economy of development or tech in that sense.
Yes.
Especially nowadays.
Yes.
Back then, not so much.
But now in 2022, at the time of recording, there is a boom of boot camps all over the country in Germany. Some of them you can go there full-time and work, study there, and others you can actually do remotely.
Yeah, some are actually financed, for example, if you're unemployed currently, and you would like a career change, some of them you can apply to be financed by the job center or the Arbeitsagentur or Agentur für Arbeit. So it's even a free education for you if you are interested in that, because that matches your situation. We've also written a detailed guides on unemployment benefits in Germany, which we will also link to from simplegermany.com in the description below. Others you may have to pay upfront, and usually a bootcamp can last between 2 to 6 months, and the cost varies around 8 to 10,000 euros.
Yes, at
roughly.
The time of recording, roughly.
Depends
yeah.
a little bit, yeah. Or there are other bootcamps that have the option that you don't pay anything upfront because maybe your budget doesn't allow it. But once you find the job, they take a certain percentage, a cut from your salary for the first year or years. It depends. So there are really lots of paths, lots of different bootcamps also focus in different areas, so that pretty much once you figure out what you would like to learn, there is an option for you. Not always, but in most cases.
Yes, and here the tricky part is which bootcamp do you choose? Because a lot of the bootcamps, they are very, how do you say this, focused on a certain area of programming. And if you have no idea of what area you would like to do, I would say it's kind of tricky to figure out what it is. But we will talk about that in the next part of the video. So the third option, of course, is to be a self-taught developer. So this means teaching yourself everything you need to know. I would say this one, the pros and cons, right? Like the pro is that it can be absolutely free. You do it on your own time, so whenever you have time to do it, which leads to also some of the cons, which means that you kind of need to know what to study, because again, if you're absolutely new, you have no idea or guidance what comes first and what comes next. And because you're being self-taught, there is no accountability to what you're doing.
There's no mentor. Frustration levels can be a lot higher.
Yes.
Giving up is probably a little bit more likely.
Yes. However, if you want to go the self-taught route, there are 2 very good resources that I can recommend. The first one is Free Code Camp, and as the name says, it's a free code camp. The thing with Free Code Camp as well is that there are different areas and focuses. So again, you kind of need to have a little bit of an idea if you want to do front-end, back-end, DevOps or whatnot. We will go into that a little bit, don't worry about it. And the second option is that there is a YouTuber called Forest Knight, which he created an open source computer science degree. He went to the university and got a computer science degree, and then he said, you know what, I don't know why I paid so much money. I'm going to create an open source version of the computer science degree that I studied, and he has links to different courses. Some of them are paid and some of them are free. The also pro from another side from the self-taught way is that it can be a lot cheaper than a bootcamp or the university. Roughly you can spend from $0 to maybe $3,000 or euros. It highly depends on what kind of courses you get, of course. Other paid resources that you can look into if you already know what you want to study a little bit more is Wes Bos. He is also a YouTuber, but a course creator, a developer, that he has amazing courses, one of my favorite ones.
I was going to say one of Jen's favorite ones. I don't know how often I've heard the name Wes Bos, here, there, everywhere, Wes Bos.
True. Another way you can go is for Udemy. They also offer certain courses that are interesting as well. And the other way is something like Treehouse, which is another platform that you pay monthly, and there are coding exercises that you can also learn to code. Now, the kind of concept about being a self-taught developer is how easy is it to find a job?
Not so easy, because you lack the network, which is kind of like in a university. I mean, I've often heard people say you don't go to Harvard to study what they teach, but you go to Harvard for the network. And the same applies with anything you want to learn, right? In a bootcamp, you have the network of the peers and the teachers, but their connections to the companies in the tech world. If you go by yourself, if you do it alone, and you buy courses or you follow, I mean, yes, you may be attentive and hear certain references, but no one knows you. And that is the toughest part, because you will have to break through that barrier of entry into the job market by yourself. And that can be cruel.
Yes, so which route did I take? So again, 2014, I took the bootcamp / self-taught way. So the bootcamp at the time that I took was the one in the US, because that was pretty much the only bootcamps that I found that were 100% remote. This one actually was from San Francisco. But of course, because it's a US focused bootcamp, their whole career services was targeted to US people. So pretty much all the jobs and stuff were for the US, which I was not moving to, right? And my goal was to stay in Germany, plus getting a job visa as a developer in the US. I don't know how easy it is also. Anyways, but moving there was off the table. However, they did teach me a little bit in terms of how to prepare the CV, what to do for interviews. So those services did help. And additional to that, once I finished my bootcamp, I knew a little bit more what I wanted to do. So I took private courses like on my own, either from Udemy or Wes Bos, of course, even some from Free Code Camp, to develop my skills further. And how hard was it for me to find a job? We will talk about that later in the video, so make sure to stay tuned. So now the second question is, okay, cool, I know the ways, but what should I study? Like the big question is, where should I even start?
I would say for me, as a not techie person who hasn't really discovered the world of programming, there is such an abundance of terms that get thrown around: front end, back end, full stack, mobile, web, servers. There's so much that, what is it? And what, do I learn it all? Do I have to focus on one? How do I know what I like? Because I think the biggest mistake one can do is to jump into a bootcamp that is focused on one area without having explored that, and then realizing halfway in, after you've probably put down your own money and your time, this is I don't enjoy this, and then what?
Yes, 100% true. So to solve that problem, I would recommend doing two things. Thing number one is to take the course called CS50, actually provided by Harvard. And you don't have to pay the thousands of dollars. Actually, this course is 100% free. That is super cool. It's provided by, I think there's different software, platforms that you can take the course from. One of the most popular one is called edX. We can link it in the description box below. And this is a course that you need to enroll at a certain date. So it starts every, 3-4 times a year. I would be lying. It starts at a specific date, and then you just enroll, and then you take the course as the date goes by, as if you were going to university. The cool thing about this course is that they teach you the basics of logical thinking, of algorithms, of solving problems for front end, back end, web. So you dabble a little bit on everything, and then you can get an idea, oh, I really enjoyed this part of the course, which is more about creating algorithms or database structures, or I enjoyed this part of the course, which is creating websites and stuff like that. Now that you have an idea, you can then explore your focus area a little bit further with free Codecamp. So there on YouTube, they have an amazing library of playlists and stuff that you can focus on areas from back end, front end stuff. So you can watch those courses, that would create the exercises with them as well, and then proceed that way. And now, once you know, okay, I absolutely love front end, then you can look for boot camps or self-taught courses that will bring you further into becoming a front end developer. So programming, you can do a lot of things for programming. You can be programming the next Airbnb or the next smart microwave or the next dashboard for the Porsche cars. It's really vast. And I wish I can tell you there's one language that you can learn and it speaks with everything, but no. Programming is kind of like the world that we live in, where every company or every language is its own little country that has its own language, its own frameworks, its own rules and regulations. So you kind of need to learn. It's very complex. That's why you need to kind of know a little bit what you want to do to be able to dive deep into that area and not feel overwhelmed of information. So the 5 most popular areas are web applications, and this is anything that runs in a browser or your phone also. This one could be anything like Amazon, for example, for desktop, Airbnb for desktop, YouTube as well for desktop. All of these are things that run on a browser and they're called web applications. And the main language for this is JavaScript. So if you learn JavaScript, winner, because that's the language that you need for creating web apps. The second thing is mobile applications.
And that is pretty much anything that you would download on your smartphone in a store. So mainly that would probably be the Google Play or the App Store. And anything that you download from there is a mobile application that needs to be coded differently than a web application. Most common also the YouTube app, Uber app, Lieferando app, any app, the weather app, any app that you really have on your phone that is not in the browser. And of course, there you have different languages. And of course, you have different languages for iOS and Android because, they are different universes, they're different countries.
Yes, exactly. They're different countries. So for the iOS country is Swift, and for the Android country is Kotlin. And of course, there are smart developers out there that they have created a language based on JavaScript. Again, you hear JavaScript again, called React Native is one of the most popular solutions, which you code in JavaScript. And then the React Native, React Native then translates that to iOS and to Android to then compile it and then create the apps.
To avoid having to code twice.
Exactly. Yeah. Another popular area is data science.
And for me, I was like, but data science, what does it have to do with programming? I mean, isn't it analyzing data? But analyzing is just part of the job or the skills that you need. The big chunk is actually of being able to extract the data. And for that, you need programming skills. Different, though, than for building something in that sense, like a web app or a mobile app. And for there, I would say the most common languages that I've heard are like Python, SQL, or R.
Yes, that is very true. There's a very cool YouTuber called Yoma Tech. He's a developer and does a lot of funny videos, but also very educational ones as well. He is a data scientist, and he explains what a data scientist does. We will link the video in the description box below for you to check it out if you're interested in data science. Then there's DevOps, or Dev Operations, I would say is short for ops.
I have no idea what that even means.
Yes, that is a tough one to explain, but just think of it that you are creating systems and procedures that will help to make the process faster of putting the code from the developer's computer to the live website or application.
So stuff that happens in the background.
Yes, stuff that happens in the background. So as when you code, developers code on their local computer, but they should be able to push, is the term, to push that code somewhere that will take that code and then transmit it to the application.
Makes sense.
It sounds super simple, but there's a lot of caveats to that because you need to be able to do things fast, you need to have security measures, you need to do certain things when certain things happen, you need to do security checks and stuff like that. And all of that
is a bit too detailed.
It's too detailed. Anyway, so just know that you are creating systems that allows this process to be faster and to work with software and things that the company uses as well. If not, you can Google DevOps and I'm pretty sure there's also an explanation. Another interesting area is embedded systems. And this is actually creating microcomputers or microchips, I think is the term as well. And this is pretty much all these little microchips that you see in anything.
Anything
really.
That's electrical, in your microwave, in your fridge, in your car.
Yes.
In your
phone.
In your remote, like automated vacuum cleaner. In your anything, I mean, I would say embedded systems run the world, no?
Yes, that is very true. And for that, the most popular languages are C, C++, and Java. And there's a whole video called, well, it's a whole video. It's a 5-minute video that is Embedded Systems Explained. Also, if you want a little bit more information about that, we will link that video also in the description box below. To summarize this, at the end of the day, if you want to kind of like code anything for web or mobile or even backend stuff, which means everything dealing with the servers and things like that, you will most likely need JavaScript. That is a very popular language. That is usually followed by PHP, and Java are also very big out there. And then, like I said, every company usually uses different things. I would stay away from...
Is it correct to say that any coder usually needs to know more than one language?
Yes, theoretically,
so
yes.
JavaScript could be the backbone, and then you need to have like certain little add-ons.
Yes, you can say that, because also if you work in a company, for example, if I worked in a company that I was using JavaScript and I would change companies and now they use Ruby, for example, I would need to learn Ruby. But knowing JavaScript, once you're a developer, you have the basics of how, or the foundation of how programming languages work. It's not a one-to-one because it's a different language, different framework, different rules.
It's kind of like as a German trying to learn Dutch.
Yes, maybe, yeah. That's a good similar. Yeah. So you have kind of like the basics.
Or as a Spanish trying to use
learn Italian or Portuguese. Yeah, that's a very good analogy. Good job. Yeah. So what I wanted to say is that if you're going for a boot camp or the self-taught way, for example, the boot camp that I took was based on Ruby and Ruby on Rails. And looking back on it, was kind of a mistake because Ruby on Rails is not used popularly by anyone really. The only big company, tech company that uses that is Shopify, which is an e-commerce platform that doesn't matter for businesses. And I would say even Shopify uses Ruby on Rails on maybe legacy stuff and older features. So again, if you look a lot for Ruby on Rails, try to stay away from these bootcamps and try to focus more on things like JavaScript or Java or PHP or Python also. It's a good one to start learning that, because those are skills, like you say, you're learning maybe Spanish, and from that you can then graduate to Italian, Portuguese, Latin-based languages, which is a bit more French, maybe, if you want to get fancy. And very important is if you're doing courses. Another tip that I have is make sure that the courses have projects that you will do at the end of the course, so you have something to show for your work, as well as you do the exercises with the course. One good tip that I heard from another YouTuber is to actually not only do the course and do the project that they're doing, but create your own version and your own project. Let's say the course is doing a to-do list, maybe do a to-do list with a twist. So then you're not just sitting there blindly copying the code, but you're actually actively programming your own kind of to-do list.
Because similar to, let's say, to artists or photographers or models or any other, let's say, skill set that needs more proof to show your skills and not just a CV, let's say, like in
project management,
exactly, or economics or anything. You need a portfolio. You need something to show for what you've accomplished, what you've achieved, how you work. And in coding, this is a project that you've built. And there, wherever you apply, people might want to look at your code, see how you connect dots, thoughts, solve problems and stuff. So the portfolio that you build is super important. Without that, your job chances are even slimmer.
I agree. So now to the big question is, how hard or easy is it to find a job in Germany as a junior developer?
Tough.
So from starting to study to actually getting my first job, it took a year and a half of constant hustle, I would say. I have looked at my inbox multiple times to see how many times I have applied to different jobs. Oh my God, and the list is, I think, in the hundreds. I even was creative to send like videos to introduce myself and create super cool CVs. And sometimes I would get absolutely not even like a thank you for applying, no thanks, just like nothing.
The harsh reality.
Is the harsh reality. It was until I found a media agency, actually funny enough, in the neighborhood that we live, which gave me the opportunity to become a trainee. And I took that opportunity with a heartbeat. I'm like, yes, please. And I was there a trainee for 6 months, which then I graduated to junior developer.
Now that is, of course, your experience as mainly self-taught, because the bootcamp also didn't really have a network in Germany.
Yes.
If you choose a bootcamp, it's still not easy. We're not saying it's going to be like a walk in a park, but you have better chances with hopefully more replies and opportunities than you had back in the day.
I totally agree, because I've had relationship with some boot camps in Germany. I've given some talks and whatnot. And sometimes I see people studying or students from the boot camp add me to LinkedIn. And then when they finish the course, you can see, congratulate this person on their new job as a junior developer. So that seems to be quite fluid compared to the
Still not easy. Yeah? Don't expect that outcome. It always depends on your attitude and your work that you also perform.
So for me, after working for a year and a half as a developer professionally, the job gates in the German market just like wide open. It was really crazy to see. I went from someone crying in the living room with a dead-end job to someone who actually, the jobs came to me. Suddenly on LinkedIn and other platforms, I would get flooded with recruiters and even companies specifically and founders asking me if I wanted to have a conversation about a possibility job opportunity, and the salaries just kept raising throughout the years. So no longer was I the one chasing the jobs. It was actually funny to say the jobs were the ones chasing me. So for me specifically, I can say learning to code absolutely changed the trajectory of my career. It changed my life forever. And to be honest, it has been one of the best decisions I ever took. If you're curious to know what the salary expectations in Germany are, make sure to click on the video that's shown here to the left. Until next time,
Tschüss!